Did I ever tell you about the time that I ended up at a Scientology rehab? I don't think I did. I'm about to, though. Hey my friends, welcome to Breaking the Cycle. My name is Tracy and I am a licensed therapist in long-term recovery. And Breaking the Cycle is where I share my experiences and tips to help you build a happy and successful life after addiction. So today I have a story time for you. So you may have noticed I kind of have two different types of content that I do on this channel. One is my story times and the other is more therapeutic content. But I feel like story times are just as important, and I just want to tell you why. The number one reason is because I really want you guys to see where I used to be versus where I am now. Because I want you to realize that that is a possibility for everybody, and that is a possibility for you too. Number two, I very much don't live in shame anymore, and I don't want any of you to live in shame either. So I share these stories partly to just normalize being a fucking human being. We are all human beings. We have all made mistakes. We have all done crazy things. It's just not everybody talks about it. But why not? Why not? Why should we leave each other feeling so alone in this when we're obviously not? And today I'm going to be telling you guys about the time that I unknowingly ended up at a Scientology rehab. Real quick before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Almost every single comment that I get on this channel is really, really supportive. I'm always scared to open them up. I'm always scared it's going to be something negative, but it never is. It's always positive, and I really, really appreciate you guys for that. If you guys want to check me out on any other platforms, I do have Facebook and Instagram, and my Instagram is kind of a mental health challenge. It's a very quick way that you can check in every morning and take a few minutes for your mental health with journal prompts and action steps that you can complete within a few minutes a day. And I really hope to have some support groups and some services coming out for you guys soon. I've been working on some exciting things with that. I would really like to get more involved in working with you guys personally, so keep your eye out for that. I'll tell you about it though. So you don't technically need to keep your eye out because I'll tell you. Okay, now let me start by saying that I am not a Scientologist, and I am also not against Scientology. I am not here to talk about anything to do with the Scientology religion, okay? The only thing that I know about Scientology is what I learned from a South Park episode, and I'm sure that that information is not entirely accurate. So this program is not about Scientology, the religion, at all. It is, however, about the NarcaNon program. Now, the NarcaNon program is a substance abuse program that was created by L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard is the founder of the Scientology religion, and I believe he was also a science fiction writer. And NarcaNon is his substance abuse program, which was founded back in 1966, and it is a program based on the book of Scientology, The Fundamentals of Thought. The very first time this program ever showed itself was to drug abusers in the Arizona prison system, but it has yet to really gain popularity. A lot of people consider it a controversial program. Some people consider it medically unsafe, and a lot of people say that it is not based in fact. Now, long before NarcaNon ever came about, the Church of Scientology and Dianetics were promoted as a cure for drug addiction, among other things. So it seems like substance abuse treatment has always kind of been a focus of L. Ron Hubbard's. I did not know anything about this program. In fact, I did not even know that this was a Scientology rehab. I just thought it was a normal rehab. Now, I went to this rehab back in 2012 because this time was the height of my addiction. I had been arrested for a public intoxication, and after spending 4 days in the drunk tank, I was bonded out. But the thing is that I was already on probation before I got arrested. So if you get arrested on probation, you'll get what's called a probation violation. So I got a probation violation, and a warrant was put out for my arrest. And I really wasn't into that. I really didn't want to go back to jail. So I decided to go to rehab instead. And I checked it out online, and it kind of boasted itself as like an alternative to AA/NA programs. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. I had been to rehab before, and they were AA/NA based programs. And I don't have anything against AA/NA. It's just that those rehab facilities didn't work for me. So I thought that it sounded good. It sounded intriguing to me. I was like, okay, yeah, this will be good. So my mom drove me up to Michigan, about 4 hours away. And what I didn't know also before I went was that this program had just opened. It was a brand new program, a brand new facility, and I was one of the very first ones to go and test this place out. So my mom drove me 4 hours away to Manistee, Michigan. And first I had to go to the detox facility, which was separate from the regular rehab. The way that they did detox was a little different than what I've normally seen. You stayed there for about 7 days while they put you on Suboxone and then tapered you off of it. And then after that, they sent you on to the rehab facility. Now, I had been using opiates for years at this point. I had been using intravenously. I'd been using all day, every day for years. So I'm not sure who on earth thought that a 7-day detox was going to cut it, but it did not. So I got there, they put me on Suboxone, and then every day they gave me a little less Suboxone until the final day when I had none. And then the day after that, I was shipped off to the rehab. So I had only been completely off of opiates for about 24 to 48 hours when I arrived at this facility. Now, this facility was an old psychiatric hospital in the middle of nowhere in Michigan. It had a lot of land with it. There was not much around, and it was pretty much exactly what you would expect an old psychiatric hospital to look like. It was a huge old brick building. It had several stories, and it was partially redone. There was a floor for the women, a floor for the men, and our common areas were redone, but the rest of the facility was still old hospital. And the staff said that they actually saged the building prior to our coming, just in case, it was haunted. And other people said that they did see things, but I never did. But I also wasn't looking. So I don't know. There were definitely rumors going around. So yeah, I was in a bedroom with, I think, 4 other bunks, and that's how it was all down the hall. There was a bunch of bedrooms with a bunch of bunk beds in the bedrooms, and then there was a communal bathroom, there was a little living room area, and a laundry room. So if any of you have ever been to treatment before or done a detox before, you know that typically what happens is you're supervised, you're given medication, and you're given a couple weeks to kind of lay around and adjust to the changes that are happening in your body. Now, because I only had 1 week of detox, and really not even 1 full week, like I said, I was only completely off of everything 24 to 48 hours prior to coming to this program. Withdrawal didn't really even fully hit me until I was at this program. And once you were at this program, you were past the detox part. So you were expected to get up and participate. You weren't allowed to just lay in your bed and feel like crap all day. Now, if you are someone who has been using very lightly or has been using for a short amount of time or has not been using opiates like your methamphetamines or something like that, that type of detox might be sufficient for you. But for someone who has been using opiates daily for years and years, that type of detox is not sufficient. And I quickly learned once I got to the facility that this rehab, the NarcaNon program, whatever it is, they do not believe in medication. So at that point, 8 days into my detox, all of my medications were cut off. They gave everybody at the rehab the same standard dose of vitamins. And these vitamins were like a specific concoction that was determined by the NarcaNon program. And they gave everybody in the program these vitamins every day. All other medications that we came in on were gone. So all of my detox medications, gone. No more comfort meds, no more Suboxone, no more nothing. There were even people who came in on psychiatric medications, people suffering from bipolar disorder or schizoaffective disorder even, and things like that. And they were taken off of their medications as well. So there were absolutely no medications in this facility 8 days in, except for our vitamins. And they took a very holistic approach, right? They encouraged us to take our vitamins. They tried very hard to feed us healthy food. They had us go to a gym every day. We had a gym in the facility, and we would have guided workouts every day. And we were fully expected to participate in those. They also had a sauna that we were encouraged to use every day. And that part was great. I'm all for holistic methods, and I definitely think that exercise and saunas are very useful when it comes to detoxifying the body and getting yourself back in healthy shape again. But at the time, I was 8 days into my detox after years of using opiates. So I was not ready for workouts. I was left in really rough shape. Now, there's two different kinds of withdrawal, right? There's the first week or so of withdrawal where your symptoms are the most intense, and that lasts typically about a week or two, and that's where you're shaky, you're sweaty, body temperature fluctuations, all of that stuff. And then there's the other part of detox, and that's after the main symptoms have passed, but you still kind of continue to have lingering symptoms, and those can last sometimes months. I think it took a solid 3 months for me to get feeling normal when I detoxed for the last time. I would say at least 2 months, 2 to 3 months. And those lingering effects are the things like insomnia, restless legs, low mood, irritability, cravings, just overall not feeling well, not having any energy, not having any strength. I kept asking for comfort meds. I kept asking to be tapered back on and off my Suboxone again, and they kept telling me no. They also very much expected me to get up and go to groups and participate every day at this point. So the very first day that I get there, we wake up in the morning and they tell me that it is time for TRs. And I am like, what the hell are TRs? I was like, I assumed that we were getting ready for group or therapy or whatever. But they said, nope, it's time to get ready and go to TRs. I was like, okay, well, let's go find out what TRs are, okay? So I walk into this room. Everybody walks into this room. It's a big open room, and there's 2 rows of chairs in the room. And the rows of chairs are facing each other. And we're asked to go have a seat in these chairs. And it was at this point that they passed out our workbooks, our program workbooks. There were these blue workbooks, and I got my book, and I read on the front cover. It said NarcaNon on the front, and then at the bottom, it had the name L. Ron Hubbard. And I knew that name. I knew that name, like I said, because of a South Park episode that I had watched in the past. So I knew that that name was associated with Scientology. And I was a little confused when I saw that name. I was just like, I've never heard of the NarcaNon program. I'm not sure why L. Ron Hubbard is involved. I'm not sure why Scientology is involved in this program. I was wondering, okay, is this a religious program? Are they going to try to convert us to Scientology? Why did no one tell me about this? And I started feeling a little like, what's really going on around here? You know what I mean? So that was my first red flag, was when I saw the name on that workbook. And that is where we would go every single day. And that was the main component of our treatment. So, in most places it's, your group therapy or whatever. In this place, the TRs, the training routine, was the main component of our program. We went through a series of TRs, kind of working our way up as we went. And the purpose of these training routines was to learn how to control our mind, learn how to control our thoughts and our emotions and our mindset, right? Which is good. I can get on board with that. I can definitely see how that would be beneficial for everyone's mental health and recovery. But it was just very different than anything that I had ever seen in a treatment facility before. So in our first TR session, our goal was to sit down in this chair, and we would sit with our feet flat on the floor, our hands in our laps. We were instructed to not move, not say a word, not make any facial expressions for an extended amount of time. I think at first it was 5 minutes or something like that. And that was our goal for the first training routine, was to be able to sit in that chair completely still for 5 minutes. No laughing, no talking, no moving, completely still. Keep in mind, like I said, I am 8 days into my detox at this point, and some of the main symptoms that I mentioned at this point in detox are restless legs, irritability, insomnia, and things like that. For most people at the center, it wasn't a problem for them to sit there like that. But for me, at that point in my detox, it was very much a problem. It was extremely uncomfortable to force myself to sit still when I felt so restless and anxious. So the TRs, I learned very quickly, were going to be very difficult for me at this point in my recovery. And I absolutely dreaded going to the TRs every day. So the TRs kind of progressed from there. After we passed the part where we would just sitting still, then we would have to do the same thing while facing a partner. We would have to do the same thing while that partner would intentionally say things or try to make us laugh, and we could not laugh. If we laughed, we had to start over, and we could not move on until we completed that assignment. I remember at one point we had to read lines out of the book Alice in Wonderland, and I don't remember exactly what we did with that. I think we had to read the lines in different ways or something like that. Just really kind of off-the-wall stuff that I never would have expected in a treatment program. The combination of being surprised by these TRs and where I was at in my recovery, still detoxing and still not feeling well, was not a good combination. And I became very irritated at these TRs very fast. I could not sit still. I could not do any of that when I was detoxing. And there were multiple instances when I got into it with the facilitator. I told them I can't do this. There were even instances where I just got up and left the room, and I went back to my bed and laid down because I said, I'm not ready for this. I can't do this right now. It's kind of a basic rule that if somebody's physical needs are not met, then they're not ready for therapy yet, right? They're not a good candidate for therapy if their physical needs are not yet. But they did not care. They basically forced me to get up and go to these TRs every single day. And because I kept leaving, I kept getting in trouble. And every time you would get in trouble at this facility, they would kind of give you a chore to do. They would make you wear like a special vest and like go rake up leaves or scrub walls or things like that. So I'm at this facility. I'm still very much withdrawing. I can't do my TRs because I'm withdrawing, and I'm getting in trouble because I'm not doing my TRs, and I'm having to clean and look a fool in front of everybody in this weird vest because I can't sit still and do my TRs. Looking back on this program, I can definitely see how it's a solid concept. I mean, not by itself. I definitely think therapy has its place, right? I'm a therapist. I believe in it. But I can see how the training routines are helpful. I can see how training your mind and learning how to control your mind and body is helpful. I can definitely see that. But at the time, because of the place that I was in mentally and physically, I was not having it. I was not into it. The Scientology thing was just kind of the cherry on top. I'm over here kind of having a fit. Like, I'm being a dick, honestly. I'm being a dick. I'm like, nobody told me this was a Scientology facility. I feel really blindsided by all of these training routines. I was not expecting this. I'm still detoxing. I can't do this. And I was just mouthing off. I was not doing the program, and I was getting in trouble constantly because of that. So like I said, I am all for holistic interventions, but I was getting very tired very quickly of being forced to do these TRs while I was still in active withdrawal, without any medication, without any help from anything, and then being punished when I couldn't because I was so uncomfortable. So I continued to get into it with staff for a few weeks. I continued to try and go to my TRs. I continued to leave my TRs. I continued to get into it and get in trouble. And I think I was there over a month before I decided I can't do this anymore. Meanwhile, there was another female who was on my floor who was having a lot of trouble with the program also. You know how I mentioned at the beginning that when you came into this program, all of the meds that you came in on, you were taken off, and that was including mental health meds for bipolar disorder, schizoaffective, etc. I don't know what her exact diagnosis was. I was not a therapist back at this point in time, but I know that she was very mentally ill, and I know that she needed her medications. And because this facility forced her to come off of her medications, she started experiencing a lot of really significant side effects. She started walking around just kind of talking to herself. She was seeing things. She would come up to me and be like, Tracy, something's going on here. Like, what's really going on? Like, she very paranoid features. I remember I had a Walkman, like a disc player for CDs that I carried with me everywhere in that rehab. That was how I made it through. I had my Eminem CDs. I would just walk around with my headphones on, blasting my angry Eminem music, and that was how I made it through. And I remember this one time, this girl just came in my room and she took my Walkman, and I found her walking the halls listening to it, and I was like, girl, you didn't ask me to borrow that. And that was one of the times when I realized, like, she's really mentally ill. She is not understanding these boundaries right now. And I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, that was obviously because she was not able to have access to her medications. While I was in that facility, I also got really sick. I came down with something other than my detox, like the flu or something. I was throwing up. I had a fever. I was very sick. And a staff member there had to take me outside the facility to a doctor because there were no doctors at the facility. So I went to like this urgent care, and they prescribed me some medicine and then sent me back to the treatment center. And the treatment center would not give me my medicine that they prescribed me. They did give me the antibiotics for my fever or infection or whatever it was, but I also had like ibuprofen and some medications to kind of help with the symptoms, and they would not give me any of those. They were not narcotics, they were not anything crazy like that, but they would not let me have those medications. And I remember the staff telling me, like, when I'm sick, I just will it away. You know, I am definitely a proponent of manifestation, and I do believe that our mind is capable of powerful things. But I also believe in modern medicine, and when we have an infection, sometimes we need medicine. And that was one of those times. So being told to will it away, I was just kind of like, no, they were just frustrating me even more with all this. And looking back, this is definitely a program that I would like to study more. It's something that I have studied a little bit more. I would like to take some parts of the NarcaNon program into the treatment that I use today. Obviously, there are some flaws in the program. There are definitely some things that were not working very well for me and some of the other people there. So after over a month or so, I finally decided that I had had enough, and I left the facility. There was a hotel like right across the street, and they actually ended up driving me over to that hotel with my things and trash bags. And I went there and I got a room for the night, and I waited until somebody from home could come and pick me up. And the first thing I did was walk down to the corner gas station and get a case of beer. And I just sat in that hotel room by myself, and I drank myself to sleep that night because I was still in withdrawal. I was still not feeling right. And shortly after I got home, I was picked up on my arrest warrant because I didn't complete the program. Like I said, you have to complete that program if you don't want to go to jail, and I didn't complete it. So I ended up being arrested, and I was in jail for Christmas that year. But that's just where I was at with things, you know. I was 22 years old, and I was at the point where I was okay with that. I would rather go to jail than sit and go through that bullshit that I was going through. Like I said, looking back, I can definitely see that the program has some perks. It has some good things. It has some things that make sense. But there are also some things that don't quite make sense and that were not doing people any good. I don't know. I would love to study the NarcaNon program more nowadays with a fresh perspective and form a new opinion on it. I haven't done that a whole lot since then, but I think maybe I might. Have any of you guys heard of the NarcaNon program? Everybody that I've brought it up to since then, everybody that I work with in the mental health field, they have never heard of this program. So I'm very curious to know, have any of you guys ever heard of this program? Have you ever been through a NarcaNon program? Have you finished one? What were your thoughts on this? There were definitely a couple people in the facility that really participated hard, and they really liked the program. Like I said, it has its benefits, but maybe once you're fully done detoxing would be ideal. Yeah, okay. So that was my experience in a Scientology rehab. I left a few things out, but that was the gist of it. I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next one.